Hey everybody, welcome to Storytime with John and Friends. Today we have another great episode for you. My friend Nick Berger stopped by. You may remember Nick from singing in the band of Fortune and Fame, his solo project Ahnest. He played guitar and sang in Goodnight forever, and he's just an all-around great guy. Nick is one of my best friends. He stood in my wedding. It was great to see him. It was great to reminisce and relive some stories that we actually did together. We toured in a van for 50 days, full U.S., both our bands, and that one van, that was a lot of fun. So it was great to relive those stories and to spend some time with him and hear some stories that I hadn't heard before. If you like what you hear, like what you see, be sure to like and subscribe. Stick around for the whole episode. Everything Nick's got going on and anything he's done in the past will be down below in the description. Make sure you follow him and everything he's got going on. Enjoy the episode.
You were pissing neon green every day.
That big ball of heat in the sky was too much. I thought there was a bear.
Reality goes, yeah, fresco. That's what I'm saying.
Hey, everybody.
What's up, everybody?
Welcome to
Welcome to
Storytime.
Storytime. What is up? It's been a minute. Haven't seen you in a little while.
Dude, things are good. Things are pretty good. It's summer, and I don't work too much in the summer, so it's good. I got 4-day weekends every week.
You're just training every day.
Training every day for sure.
That's insane. I don't understand what happened to you.
Sadness.
Yeah, that'll do it.
Yeah. Got to do something.
How many miles do you run a day?
Oh, I mean, I didn't run today.
Shut up.
I didn't.
You ran here. You didn't.
I ran
drive.
0 miles today. I was going to, and I woke up and I said no.
Okay, but on a weekly average.
Like on Tuesdays, I always run 13 miles. Every Tuesday, I run 13.
Every Tuesday, that's your thing?
Every Tuesday, 13 miles.
Okay.
And that's like a short run.
You. Do you remember on my wedding day?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. So for those of you that don't know, Nick stood in my wedding because he's one of my favorite people on this planet. And I was like, yeah, dude, come over to my sister's house where I'll be and we'll go for a morning run.
It was wonderful. I loved every second of it.
It was great. It was what, like maybe 2 miles total?
I think it was longer, man. I think like 4.
I think I ran for like a mile and you were like, wow, I'm really impressed. I'm like, great, because I'm dying.
You didn't show it, man.
I was dying.
It was your wedding day.
Yeah, and in hindsight, that was a terrible idea because my legs were like in noodles the whole day.
I would have loved it if you passed out at the wedding.
I wouldn't have passed out.
I would have caught you. It would have been a beautiful moment.
You would have ran to me.
I would have. Slow motion. Catch you on the way down. You know? It would have been lovely.
That's great. You're which one are you training for now?
So I'm training for a marathon in Corning.
Okay.
It's not a major. It's just if I run it fast enough, I'll qualify for Boston.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then how fast do you have to run to get to Boston?
So I'll have to run it in like 3 hours or under 3 hours.
And it's 26 miles?
26 miles.
What?
I know, man. I know.
That's so stupid.
I know. If you would have told me that this is what I was doing 10 years ago, I would have believed you.
You look great. It's doing wonders for you. But, I mean, no one can have the physique like I have, so.
That's what I aspire. That's what I aspire to be.
That's why you started running.
Yes. Yes.
Dude. What's good? What else is going on?
Oh man. I'm writing music. For just solo stuff.
Okay.
Hopefully some Goodnight Forever stuff if we can get everyone in the same room.
Okay.
It's impossible. Nobody's free at the same time. Rob's having a kid. Shane lives in California. Ryan's busy recording all 10 of his other bands. So.
Is this the second time Shane's in California?
Yeah, but he's been there for a long time now.
He's not booking any shows now, though.
No.
Thank God.
No. Actually, he's probably got connections now. It would have been really good now.
What's he doing out there?
Teaching music.
Oh,
he started his own business. It's actually thriving.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, he's doing well.
You're living with Tim.
Living with Tim, man. Tim. Oh, Tim's the best.
Is he recording you?
No.
No.
It's interesting. We live together. I thought that we'd like write music and stuff, and we don't. We barely see each other.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Our schedules are so different.
Well, that's why you guys sleep in the same bed, so.
See him every night.
At least I feel him. When he gets out of bed and I get in, it's still warm.
Yeah. Actually, he sleeps on the couch most nights.
Yeah, I feel that.
Just because I snore, so.
It's your fault.
It's always my fault, You can blame me. If anyone needs blame, I'll take it. I take it well.
Love that. Nick and I spent a lot of time in a van together, and that's pretty cool.
Too many days. Too much time, actually.
Yeah. And then we spent a lot of time outside of a van together, and one might say I was a bad influence on Nick for a little bit of time.
How so?
I mean, anytime we got together, we got belligerently drunk, and it was my fault, according to friends.
Most people.
And most people, yeah.
Yeah.
And now I don't drink.
Yeah, actually, when now that I'm training for a marathon, I don't drink too much either.
So let's hear some stories, man.
Stories.
I want to hear them all.
All right, we're gonna start with really my first real tour. So, as you know, I was just writing solo stuff under Ahnest, is what I call myself. And I had done like weekends and stuff, but I'd never really recorded any real music like in a studio. I just did home recordings and was like burning CDs and stuff. Mm-hmm. But I actually wrote a full length, recorded with Steve Sopchak. It was amazing. Put out like an actual record. I was living with my friend Phil Smo. He had just put out a record at the same time, solo. And we were like, let's do a tour to promote our new records coming out. And I had never really booked anything. We didn't know what we were doing. Mm-hmm. No clue. But we were like, let's do a full U.S. all of May, 2009.
Wow.
Yeah.
That for your first tour?
Yeah. First like actual tour. First, this record isn't even on the internet anymore. I'm like, this is,
Yeah.
Don't love it, but first piece of music, and so we're like trying to book shows, but we have no clue what we're doing. Mm-hmm. He hadn't really done a tour like this either, and we're just calling venues and coffee shops and stuff, and we're like, let's put a show together, like as a promoter, except we don't live in that town, so none of the shows were good.
So you acted as if you were in that town.
Yes.
To promote.
Yeah, because we don't know what we're doing.
Yeah,
we're like, we'll play a show there. They're like, yeah, you can have that date, but then like actually we didn't do anything.
Were you paying to book rooms?
No. We're hitting up places that just wanted live acts.
Okay. Yeah.
But then the problem was we'd go in and play and have no audience because there was actually no promotion.
Right.
Yeah. So, but we booked this tour. And our friend, so there was 4 of us living together. Our friend Rob had a 1981 VW bus.
Okay.
He was like, can I come? I'll drive. You can use my van. We're like, fantastic. That really works out because...
Or fantastic.
It's... fantastic.
I'll be here all night, ladies and gentlemen.
Unfortunately,
Continue.
He lives here. Get out of my house. And we're like, that's great. His name's Rob. And perfect. And then our buddy Matt, the other guy who lived with us, he's like, well, I want to go too. We're like, yeah, come along. We can do merch. It'll be fun. So it's the 4 of us that live together going out on this 30-day tour that we booked. None of the shows are going to be good. We don't know that yet.
Right, yeah.
And we get 2 weeks in, and we're in St. Joseph's, Missouri. And we're driving into the town, and it's a nowhere town, right? Have you ever heard of St. Joseph's, Missouri?
No.
Okay.
No.
We hadn't either.
Yeah.
We didn't have a show there. We were just passing through, right? Mm-hmm. And the van just stops working. And we're like, we're driving down the highway and it just turns off. And we're like, what's going on? So pull over on the side of the road, can't get it started, can't get anything happening with it. We're like, what's going on? So we get towed into St. Joseph, Missouri. It's the closest town. And they take us to a VW shop. And so we're like, this is perfect. And they look at it and they say, your engine is completely dead. You need a new engine. And we're like, what? This is after playing 2 weeks of shows to nobody.
Yeah.
Right? And so we're all like really bummed. We're like, what do we do? And he's like, well, I can order you a new engine, but they don't really make them many places. I know of a place in Texas. They'll ship here. It's going to take like 2 weeks. We're like, 2 weeks? The tour is over in 2 weeks.
Over.
They're like, what is happening? So we just, for a week, just ransack this town because we don't know what to do. We're just staying. We're stranded we don't know if we should go home. We have to leave the van. Like there's nothing we can do. Do we rent a car? What happens? Like we have no idea. So we're just kind of like going to bars and drinking and doing whatever. And we meet this bartender on like day 2, and he's like, "My parents have a farm. Do you want to just come?" Like we were still sleeping in the van, just in the parking lot of the dealership. Yeah. He said, "My parents have a farm in Kansas. Do you want to like come hang out there?" And we're like, what else are we going to do? We're in St. Joseph's, Missouri. So he's like, all right, hop in my truck. And there's 4 of us, so we're just hop in like the bed of his truck. He drives us all the way to Kansas. It's like an hour drive. And we spent like 2 days at his parents' house, and they just cooked us meals, and they were fantastic. And we're just hanging out. Yeah, it was awesome. And like we always joke about it, how it was actually like the tour was terrible. Nothing was good about the actual tour. The van broke down. We had to leave the van. We eventually rented a car and drove home. We were like, this is just a lost cause at this point. But the experience that we had in Kansas with this family who I don't even know at this point, amazing. I would do that again.
That actually sounds nice. Like
that was more fun than finishing 2 more weeks of a tour across the country playing to nobody. Yeah. Well, I got home from that tour and I was like, I don't know if I'll ever tour again. It was that bad.
That should have been your warning.
It should have been my warning.
The first van on the first tour you went to.
Yeah.
Shit the bed.
Yeah.
Only leading up to another van that would shit the bed repeat.
Over and over again.
Real quick, this is gonna get a little sidetracked, but it's just a quick little snippet I thought about yesterday because I was talking to Kyle, and he said that Actor Observer didn't have a van for like a year or 2. They didn't really buy a van until like 2017.
Fortune Fame never had a van.
Yeah, but you guys weren't renting the green van like Actor Observer was because that's fucking brilliant. Why did we borrow a van and spend all our money on it when we could have rented a green van?
Do you know the logistics of that?
As far as like how much?
Yeah.
I have no idea.
I mean, is it breaking you if you're going on a tour that's making no money? Which is essentially, for the record, almost every tour I ever went on.
Yeah, I mean, that's tour. But I think about it this way. That tour that we borrowed the van from Brent and them, we spent all our money anyways.
Yeah.
We could have spent our money on a van that wouldn't break down.
True.
And had less stress and all that shit.
Yeah.
Still appreciate them doing that. I'm just saying as far as like the experience.
Yeah. You're spending money.
Different.
You're spending money fixing the van. You're spending money recouping shows you didn't make it to.
Right.
Yeah. And then the extra gas money to get to the next show that's further away. So yeah, I mean, I guess it does make more sense.
We would have just had to hustle more.
Yeah.
Than we were, and even then we were hustling our asses off anyways. Remember we made the CDs and stuff? We just took all of our music and put it all on one CD and we're like, $3.
Yeah.
Pitiful.
Hindsight 2020, man.
But yeah, so do you keep in touch with them at all? The people that you stayed with?
No. As soon as we left,
that was it.
Yeah, that was it. Never talked to him again.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's unlike you.
Yeah. Yeah. Very unlike me. It lives in the past. But so just to finish that up, Rob flew back to get the van with Phil like 3 weeks later. They got the engine. He paid the $2,000. It was his van, his personal van, so he just paid the $2,000. And they're driving it back, and Phil is driving down the highway, and the steering just stops working. They're on the highway. He can't pull over. He's just spinning the wheel, and nothing's happening. Nothing's happening.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, so they had to get it towed again to a shop and fix the steering, which was an easier fix, but still, I was like, what a train wreck.
Okay, have you watched I Think You Should Leave?
No.
There's a skit that is like, the guy's in a room with a bunch of people, and he's like, all right, this is a focus group for some car dealership or a car manufacturer, and he's like, what would you like to see in a vehicle? And this old guy just keeps going, I would like for my steering wheel not to come off while I'm driving. And that's where that came from,
yeah.
Dude. You fucking stole that shit.
I'm glad that I wasn't there, but a part of me wishes I was there to see it.
That's a crazy story, man.
Yeah.
That's pretty nuts.
Anyway, don't tour in a 1981 VW bus or any vans at all, ever, if you're with me. Apparently I'm pretty bad luck with vans.
Only tour in a private jet, I suggest doing so.
I suggest that.
Yeah. I've heard
actually next tour, that I go on.
That's actually the
Private jet.
Still Shitty tour.
The Still Shitty tour, which is coming up so soon.
Like next month or
Yeah.
two. In the next 2 months.
Oh my, you're bringing the baby with you.
Yeah, right, dude.
If Jen goes into labor during the podcast, we're having a home birth.
That's fair.
I'm ready.
That's fair.
I came prepared for that.
She knows that this comes first.
Yeah.
It goes podcast, video games, smoked meats,
Yeah.
family.
Well, smoked meats should have been higher on that list.
You're right, but like I
Smoked
usually
meats first,
smoke my
maybe.
meats while I'm playing video games. So
Okay.
yeah, but it's
I think you can do all four of those things at the same time, actually.
you're right. I am a man of many talents.
Many.
Stupid. Is there anything else from that tour?
So, I mean, we left on, May 1st, and I think the first show was somewhere in Ohio, and we were just outside of Buffalo, and we got pulled over because we'd stopped at a gas station, and Rob had weed with him, of course.
Naturally.
This is not Rob Budden. This is Rob Sweet.
But it's in the
different
name.
Rob. If your
makes
name's Rob,
sense.
it makes sense. He had weed on him, but he didn't have. He didn't bring like a means to smoke it, so he was buying rolling papers. And he bought rolling papers and nothing else. And he walks out, and there was a police officer in the gas station who immediately pulls us over as we leave the gas station and was like, "Your license plate light is out. Do you have drugs in the car?" And we're like, "What?" Phil's like, "We have a license plate light." Like,
Yeah.
what I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah.
All right, and he's like, and then the police officer says to us, "I saw you buy rolling papers, but not any tobacco. If you can show me they have tobacco in the van, I'll let you go right now." Of course we didn't, right?
Yeah. But you should always carry tobacco.
100%.
Always.
That's the takeaway from the
Yes.
story. Even if you don't smoke,
100%.
you should always have tobacco on you, just in case. But Rob had the weed on him, and there was a little hole in the van, like tiny, right? Just enough to like put like a small pebble in, right? And it's in the van. It's just in the floor of the van, and he just stuffs it in there. He doesn't know what it leads to. He thinks like maybe it just falls down to the ground or like whatever. He stuffs it in there, and the cop's like, "I'm gonna search the van." He's like, "Go for it." Cop searches the van, doesn't find anything, right? Rob spent the entire rest of the tour looking for that. And I think it just fell into the guts of the van.
Yeah.
Never found it. Could never get it out, at least.
It actually, he's like, "Why is my exhaust smoking so much?" And the people behind him are like, "Oh."
So somewhere in there, it just exists. It's still probably there.
That's
Who knows?
So funny, dude. That's actually kind of brilliant, too. What is with people getting pulled over with weed and just like immediately having the thought of, "I can get away with this,"
Yeah.
and then actually doing so?
Sure. Is this a good segue for
This
the next
might be
story?
a segue.
This is fantastic. John and I were on tour.
Now it's fantastic. Let me preface this.
It
In
wasn't
the moment, not fantastic.
Not great.
This was devastating for all of us.
Yeah.
Continue.
So another full U.S. Much later.
His second tour he ever did.
Van broke down many times on day one.
Day one. Yeah. No, we didn't even leave.
Yeah, we hadn't left yet.
We hadn't left yet.
No.
The night before we left,
Yeah.
Mush had to bring it in to get fixed.
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
Amazing. Amazing.
Continue. Sorry.
So we're on a full U.S. We had already made it out to the West Coast and down. You know, the tour's good. There's 9 of us in a van. It's a fortune fame of the traditional. And we're in California, where at the time weed was legal. It wasn't legal in New York. But 2 of our bought some, and by some I mean quite a bit. You know, we don't know the rules. It's legal there. It's in the van. Next show is in Arizona. We're doing it overnight. Ryan's driving.
Ryan was driving.
Ryan's driving. Everyone else is sleeping. I don't think there was another person awake, right? Because if I remember the story correctly, no warning.
There
Right?
was no warning.
Okay.
There was no warning.
Okay, we're crossing over the border, and there's just like a checkpoint, a border patrol checkpoint.
Mind you, this is not the border to Mexico.
No.
We were really far south in California. You could see Tijuana
Yeah.
from Imperial Beach, which is where we were.
Yeah.
And then we had decided to indulge.
Yeah.
Which is why everyone fell asleep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. And we're driving and we're crossing the border into Arizona, where weed is not legal, and there's a Border Patrol checkpoint. And Ryan just rolls up to it, doesn't wake. The van reeks of weed. And no warning, just rolls the window down, and the patrol officer has a dog who immediately starts barking. So we all wake up. We're like, what's going on? What's
dog's
happening?
barking.
Dog's barking. What's happening? And Ryan's like, oh, it's a Border Patrol checkpoint. And we're like, no warning at all?
Nothing.
Half of us are still like trying to figure out what's going on.
A sound sleep.
Yeah.
A sound sleep, which was hard to come by that tour.
Yeah, it really was. Probably the best sleep that I don't know if I slept again the rest of the tour. That's the last time I slept.
I will say I did have some really good snuggles with Tim, but that was...
Oh, of course. Didn't we all? But, the dog's going crazy immediately, and so he says, pull over, get out of the van. And we're like, oh no, like, we know that we still have more on us. It's all in the back.
A lot more.
Yeah. And
like a decent... Allegedly, a lot.
Allegedly, I never saw it. I can't speak on it, really. I can tell the story because I was there, but, secondhand. I didn't inhale.
Continue.
So anyways, we all get out, and we're lined up, and somehow John becomes the spokesman for us.
Let me explain how this happens. So, Ryan tells everybody, they tell us, get out of the van, and everybody gets out, and we're all in a line, and the guy goes, who's in charge of the van? And Ryan goes, John.
Yep.
And I was so fucking mad. So mad. Because the rule was, if you're driving, you're in charge of the van. Continue.
So, he kind of pulls John aside. You can kind of hear what they're talking about, not really. Mind you, we're all still kind of waking up and making sense of this. We're like, how did we even get here? Yeah. And he's talking to John, and John turns to us and says, we're all lined up, he says, if we have any weed, to tell him now. Do we have any? And we all don't, no one wants to be the first person to say anything, so we all look around, and then we're like, no. All together. And as soon as it comes out, I'm like, oh man, did we really just commit to this? Did we all just commit to this?
Commit to the bit. People, if you listen to this weekly, you are aware of that. But continue.
So, John turns back and is talking to him again. He turns around again, a second time. Guys, if we have anything, he wants to know, and he'll let us off easier. And we look around again. No one wants to be the first person. We're all looking around at each other. We have to look so guilty. Look around, all in unison. No. Nothing. Right?
Hold on. In the meantime, before I said that the second time, I don't even know if you're aware of this, but he goes, we already found a grinder. We know that there's something in the van. Just tell us. It's going to be, like, it's going to help your case more. Yeah. I go, dude, we were in California. We smoked in the van. There's a roach in the van. And he's like, okay. And then he continues to try and coax me into, giving more shit up.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Sorry. No, this is great. We're tag teaming it.
Yeah.
We're tag teaming. I'm still waking up.
Right.
I'm like, oh man. Everyone's saying
so
no.
Am I.
Everyone's saying no. I'm saying no. We're all saying no.
Come into the pit.
Yeah. And so you're like, all right, we're going to search the van. So they go in. I'm like, great. Like, because I've heard stories of, I've had friends touring who have had this happen, and, they get detained for a while, and there's, you have to pay, X amount of money or whatever, there's fines. I'm like, great. We don't have a ton of money. And they go in and they search, and they find the roach. Mm-hmm. And they come out, and they bring the dog in, and they find the roach, and he comes out, and he's like, I found the roach, like, he told us that we'd find it in there, like, I'll let you guys off the hook. Don't do it again, whatever, slap on the wrist type of thing. And I'm like, what just happened?
Yeah.
Okay. So we get back in the van and we pull away, and I'm like, okay, what happened? Because I know we have a lot.
All right. Before you go there, let me tell you from my perspective, because you didn't hear everything he was saying. He told me go in there and find the roach. And before that, Rob said, I have a jar of stems. So Rob went in, grabbed the jar of stems, handed it to him, and the guy was like, why the fuck do you have this? He's like, I don't know. I was going to make something at home with it. Whatever. I hand him the tube, this big green tube with the roach, that much. And he goes, now we're... Oh, throw this shit out the window. Like, he was just like, what? You guys are idiots, you know? And then they let us go. But before that, he was like, all right... They let the dog in there, and the dog comes out, and he's got this big green thing in his mouth. And I thought, oh, fuck. They got it. They got it. We're fucked. They're praising the dog, all this shit. And then he goes, all right, just come inside. You got to sign your name just because, like, I have to confiscate the shit. Because we gave him a pipe, the weed jar with just the stems, the roach, and then the grinder that they found. So I go inside. He's like, yeah, I just need to take down your information. You're not going to be charged or anything. Excuse me. So then I go, can I take a piss real quick? He goes, yeah, right in the cell. I was like, seriously? He's like, yeah, no, just don't worry about it. So I go in, and he closed the door behind me. And I was like, what, dude? And he was like, I'm just fucking with you. Whatever. So sorry, continue. Sorry to interrupt.
We could have left without you, man. We probably would have if we kept you in there.
The van was in my name, bro. How are you going to go anywhere?
See you later. We figure it out on the road. So we get back in, we pull away, and I'm like, what happened? And Bear was like, there was behind the back bench, there was like a pipe that I don't even know why it was there. Like maybe that bench folded down, but it couldn't because it was like, there's no way that it did anything.
From what I remember, it was the framing and the fabric came undone.
Okay, so it was
just part of the frame.
It was coming. Okay,
yeah.
He like stuffed it inside of it, and I think
inside.
Yeah.
Yes. Like right up in there.
Yeah. And I think because the entire van smelled like weed, the dog was just like, apparently they're supposed to be really good at that.
Not this one.
Yeah. He must have been new on the job. But anyways, they didn't find it. So we're pulling away, and Bear's just like, I put it in the frame of the seat. And I'm like, what? Yeah. He's like, yeah, they didn't find it. I'm like, that's crazy. Because it was a lot.
At that point, you're smuggling.
Yeah. At that point,
allegedly.
Yeah. Allegedly.
Allegedly.
No, second, I wasn't even there for this story.
Yeah,
so,
I was. Yeah. I'm being told about this.
I was told this.
I was inserted into the equation.
Yes. I was on the tour, but not at that moment.
No, I was.
I transcended.
Same. Yeah.
So, anyways,
I was still sleeping. But
yeah, I'm not sure if I was awake at all for that.
You're right.
Yeah.
Continue.
I wasn't there because I was really high.
I was still in California.
Yeah. I hadn't crossed the border yet. I don't know what you guys were doing. I was 2 or 3 hours behind. So anyways, we stop at the next stop, and they finished it all, and which I'm sure was great for them.
Not only was it finished, there was so much. There was an ounce of weed smoked in less than 24 hours. We played a show, went to my cousin's house, and then just continued there.
Yeah.
Dude, we are so stupid, man. So stupid.
You know, hindsight.
The guy, when we were leaving, like when I signed the shit or whatever, he's like, listen, you guys are a band. You're going to do what you're going to do. You're going to hit another stop before you get to Albuquerque, New Mexico. Buy some in the area, smoke it out of the van, and get rid of it. Don't leave it in the van, but you're going to hit another one. So that's why when we left, then that same day we were like, it's got to go. We got to use it all. What?
What a time to be alive. I've never existed in Arizona. Not fully.
No. And then which leads to
this great story.
What's that?
Do you remember the name of the venue we played in Arizona?
I don't
either.
But didn't the Swellers play the same night?
They did.
And it
downstairs.
Two
different shows. Show? 2 different shows. Yeah.
Surprisingly, there were still kids at our show, though.
There were, and Nick from the Swellers came up and watched our set, which was sick. Shout out to the Swellers, cool band.
Yes.
That band should have been bigger than they were. They toured with Paramore like a couple years prior to that show.
Yeah.
They were direct support to Paramore when they released Brand New Eyes or whatever that record is.
Oh, that was like the third record already?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, they were direct support on that tour.
That's crazy.
And then, anyways.
Yeah.
Swellers, great band. But yeah, so we get to that show. I think it's called The Masquerade. Why do I remember that all of a sudden?
I think that is it. That sounds familiar.
Maybe I was there. Maybe I was in Arizona.
You definitely made an appearance for this story.
Yeah. This was either me or not me, depending on the details, I guess.
Okay.
Anyways, we had been cutting each other's hair almost the entire tour. I hadn't cut anyone's hair yet because I don't do that.
None of us did.
Anyways, John was like, my hair's getting kind of long. I could use a haircut. So I'm like, I'll do it. Whatever. It's not that hard. We're just like shaving the sides. I gave John maybe the worst haircut of his life. Right before he played his set. I mean, no way of fixing it.
You used an electric shaver that died like 3 swipes into each side.
Yep. It
So
looked
then
terrible.
what did you use?
I don't know, we used scissors?
Meat scissors. Why did we have meat scissors?
I don't know. You are a man of meats.
You're right. That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah. Anyways, it looked really bad. You got pictures.
I do.
Yeah, there's-
I don't. Okay, I'll actually. You made that video. I'm pretty sure you can see my hair.
Oh, I think it's in there, yeah.
Yeah. Because I played. So we made it look fairly presentable.
Yeah.
You like cut it as short as you could with meat scissors, into like a mohawk type deal.
Yeah.
And then we played. And when we went to my cousin's house, he was like, "I can fix that up for you, man." I was
Yeah.
like, "Okay." And then he did it, and I'll never do a mohawk again. But I blame you for this. What I look like now.
You know what? I
was
just
the start of it
I was just streamlining the process. You were going to get there anyways. Maybe I helped you get there a little sooner. Who's to say? You're welcome. I think you look great.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You know? Friends. Friends for life. You can cut my hair sometime. Maybe one of the early of Fortune Fame tours, we met up with this band called Sidelined. They were from Newton, Illinois. Never heard of that town before. I'm not sure anybody has. Just a tiny town, right? Small town, middle Illinois. They had a date of their tour cancel. We didn't know them. We just had intersecting tour routes, but they had a date cancel, so they just came to our show hoping to be able to play. They're like, "Oh, we found this show. Like, can we play?" And the promoters were like, "No, you can't," because it was like a stacked show. Mm-hmm. But they were awesome. We hung out with them, and they were like, "We actually don't have we have an off day tomorrow, and we'd love to play a show." And then the day after that, the show had gotten canceled. So they're like, the next 2 days we have nothing, and their route was the same as ours. And we're like, we'll try to get you on our shows. So we call the promoters, and then they're like, yeah, absolutely. Like, why not? They sound awesome. Throw them on the show, fit the bill. So we play the next 2 shows with them, and they're incredible. I think it was like Greensboro, North Carolina, and then Nashville, Tennessee. This is the same night that we meet the Veer Cans. That could be a whole other thing. Anyways.
Continue. We'll circle back to the beer cans.
Yeah. So we play these 2 shows with them. We become really good friends in 2 days. They're all awesome. And then they continue on their tour. And then a couple tours later, A Fortune and Fame is going out, and they were like, "You should come play in Newton, Illinois." And we're like, "Okay, that sounds awesome." We'd never been there. Small town, sometimes small town shows can be great because there's not a lot to do. So if there is something to do, the whole town comes out. You know, you've played those shows before.
Yep.
And we go out, and the show is incredible. They played, and the whole town did come out. And it just was a lot of fun, you know, hanging out with our friends we hadn't seen in a while. Show was really good. You know, hit that on the tour, and then went back home, whatever. And then we hadn't seen them in a while. I'm doing a solo Ahnest tour, right? This is years later, right? And
wait, was that with A Fortune and Fame? That other one?
Yeah, that was with A Fortune and Fame. So now this is a solo tour with Ahnest. This is like 3 years later. I haven't been in Newton, Illinois in like 3 years, right?
Okay.
And I get into town, and I need gas. I'm just driving my car. It's just me, solo. And I need gas, and I pull into a gas station, and a kid is driving by me, and he stops, and he rolls his window down, and he points to me, and he goes, "Whoa, A Fortune and Fame?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Dude, that's crazy." And then he just drives away. And I'm like, "What? Did I just get recognized? I haven't been here in 3 years. Like, that's insane." The kid gets into the street, whips a U-turn, right? Like burnout U-turn, turns up Wembridge Drive. He has it in it, like, because this CD probably has not left his car yet. Turns it up really loud, drives by, and he's like, fuck yeah, man. He points to me. I'm like, where am I right now? Where am I?
You're in Newton.
I'm in Newton, Illinois. I play the show. That kid is not there.
Oh, yeah. He was like, it's not a Fortune and Fame, bro.
Yeah. I was like, I wonder if he's going to be at the show. No.
That's hilarious, dude.
Yep. Didn't ask me why I was there. Wasn't like, oh, Fortune and Fame playing a show. Why are you here? Nothing.
That's hilarious, dude.
Yeah.
Maybe he just thought you loved the town so much.
Maybe.
Because he was like, yo, we really showed that dude a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
I kind of hope he got like a minute down the road and was like, what if it wasn't him?
That would have been funny, too.
Because when he was like a Fortune and Fame, I was like, yeah, man. You know, like, I wasn't like, I didn't like really like.
I do like both those things.
Yeah, I know. I was just
I
like, yeah.
genuinely enjoy and hope to have both of those.
I've played in bands my whole life. I don't hope to have either of those things.
You're right. Same.
I mean, I hope to, but I know it's anyways.
I'd like Fortune so I could just fuck off.
If I had Fortune, I wouldn't play in a band.
I never would have started drumming.
Yeah. Who needs instruments when you got money?
Just start a podcast, man.
Disgusting.
Podcasts are gross, man.
Yep.
That is funny. That's so leading into you mentioned the beer cans. You
Yeah.
gotta explain. I think we may have heard a little bit about them with Matt Watanek.
Yeah.
He did mention them. He explained his story with them, but let's hear your story.
So on this tour, we played a show with a band called What We Were, and there were two brothers in this band, Nick Vierkant and Lawton Vierkant, and we'd never met them. We were playing maybe one of the worst shows in a Fortune and Fame's career. We get there, the sound man is having girl problems. He's telling us about it. He's like, yeah, man, she's going to leave me. I have to go figure this out. He's like, I'm packing my gear up and I have to go. We're like, you're packing your gear? Like, can you go figure it out and we'll just run the sound and then come back and get this? He's like, no. We're like, okay. Also, the bill was like a country band, and then us, and then Sidelined, who like we had just met 2 days earlier, and then this band What We Were, which was the local. The bill was like all what like one band would play, and then their fan base would leave, and then the next band would play. It was bizarre, right?
Yeah, weird.
And everyone's kind of having a really weird night, and it's also the 4th of July. So Nashville's crazy, right? And our guitarist at the time, Andy, the night before had gotten bit in the face by a dog. Matt Trevor's uncle's dog.
Why?
We stayed at his uncle's house. It was old. This is a crazy story. We're going to go.
We'll come back to the beer cans.
We're going to do this real quick.
Yeah.
We were in North Carolina, and we stayed with Matt Trevor's uncle. And they had a really old dog. I mean, it was like really old, like senile, couldn't really move well, right? We get there, Andy sees dog. He's like, oh, a dog. Like, bent down to pet it, startled it, jumped up, bit him in the face, right?
Natural.
We're all in the kitchen.
Yeah, naturally.
He walks in the kitchen like this, and he goes, I think your dog bit me. And we're like, you think the dog bit you? Like, he's covering it, right? He moves his hand, and just blood is pooling from his above his eye. And we're like, no, man, it did.
Yeah.
It bit you. Like, it got you good.
You're dying.
You know? Yeah. We're leaving you here. Anyways, so Andy's dealing with this the next day. He's dealing with his eyes. I can't even see out of one eye. It's overall just a bad night, right? The next show is in Detroit. And the show doesn't end until like 2 a.m. We have a 14-hour drive. I don't know who scheduled this. We're going to get into Detroit
Shane.
for load.
I love you, Shane. I'm fucking with you.
Probably Shane.
But seriously, stop it.
So we're going to get like, if we left right then, we're going to get to, dude, we're in the parking lot loading up, and it's along a highway, and Matt Travers is like loading gear in, and he's like, there's a body right there. And we're like, what are you talking about? On this, like, there's a fence. It's a parking lot, a fence, and a highway.
Yeah.
And on the other side of the fence, he's like, that's a body. I'm sure. And we're like, what? So we go over, and there's a woman laying face down in the grass, off the side of the highway. And we like, go check on her, obviously. And she's like incoherent. She like gets up. She's just very drunk.
Yeah,
I thought, I was like, okay, this is Best case scenario, honestly. And we're like, do you know what happened? She's like, no, I think I just fell asleep. And we're like, do you want us to call you like a cab? What's your address? And she gives us her address, and we're like, we're going to get you a cab. And then we put her in the cab, and off she went.
Yeah.
I hope she's okay. Haven't thought about that in a while.
4th of July, man.
4th of July in Nashville, wild time.
It'll get you.
Every time. So, wow, this story has a lot of moving
Dude,
parts.
see, I'm telling you. Every time someone comes on, they're like, oh, yeah. It's just the nature of the beast, man.
Yeah. So we're driving to Detroit, 14-hour drive. It's 2 a.m. We're all miserable. This is a terrible show, right? We get in the van. We're driving maybe to the border of Tennessee. Evan is driving. And he's like, I'm really... So before we leave, he's like, guys, everyone's upset. We're having a bad time. Everyone's tired. I'll drive us to Detroit. I'll do the overnight. You know, Evan's pretty level-headed most of the time. He was like, you guys sleep. I'll do it. We get to the border of Tennessee, which if you don't know, like you get on 65, I-65. That's what it is. Takes you north or south, but we're going north. And we get to the border of Tennessee and Kentucky. It's not far away. Evan's like, I'm going to fall asleep. I can't drive anymore. He's been driving for like 45 minutes. I'm like, all right, I'll drive. So I get in. I drive us all the way to Detroit. We get there for load in, right? And we're going to load our gear in. Shane can't find his base. He's like, I think I left my base at the venue in Nashville. I'm like, can this get any worse? This is terrible. We're on tour with Ley Lines.
Yeah.
So we're like, can we just use your base gear or whatever? And they're like, obviously, yes. Good friends of ours. And it's the last day of the tour, so it's not like a big thing. But Shane's base is in Nashville.
Right.
We're not driving back to Nashville to get it. So we call Nick Vierkant. We find the band what we were. We contact Nick. We're like, Nick, can you go back to the venue and see if Shane's based there? He does, finds it, ships it back to Shane, right? And that starts our relationship with the Vierkants.
And now you guys hold hands.
And now we hold hands.
I don't know. They're good people. I love the beer cans.
Susan's the best of all of them.
They're all amazing.
No, just
but
Susan.
Susan is the best. She would welcome everybody still, even with them not living there.
Absolutely.
100%.
But I think she lives in Kentucky now.
Has she moved?
Last I heard, yeah.
That's
wonderful woman. That's closer to us, so cool.
No more.
I would go visit just Susan.
No more.
In a second.
No more purple.
No more purple bathroom, no.
Damn.
I mean, it's probably still purple. I hope. If somebody moved into that house and...
I hope that she sold the house and was like, you can keep the towels. And they were like, what? She's like, you'll understand later.
There's one stipulation if you buy this house. You can't paint the bathroom. It has to stay purple.
For those of you wondering what the hell we're talking about, they had this bathroom that had an incredible amount of purple in it, and it was the best bathroom ever.
Great. So much space for activities in there.
Needless to say, well, I guess I'll just say it. They would set up shows every time we'd come through. A lot of bands would come through, and they would set up shows at the house, and then you could crash and use the purple bathroom. And everybody enjoyed the purple bathroom. It was the best.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
One of the best house show spots in the country at the time. Hands down. I think everyone that has played there would agree. I don't know if I played a better house show venue.
I mean, Matt said he loved it. Yeah. We loved it. You loved it. Everybody loved it. I don't think there was a better, especially because it was a high quality show in a living room.
Yeah. You were playing with other musicians, Lawton doing sound.
Yeah, like an actual sound system and shit.
Yeah.
With lights.
Yeah.
They brought out all those lights and stuff too.
Yeah,
the LEDs and everything.
On a huge plot of land.
Yeah.
And just a beautiful spot.
Yeah. That's great. I miss them. Miss them a lot.
Good people. Good times.
Good people. So we've already heard a little bit about day one from someone else.
Okay.
But I want to hear your version.
Cool.
And go.
I was a Band-Aid on this tour.
Okay.
And I treated it as such, which is fantastic. Actually, one of my favorite things.
Okay.
So I was just filling in for Trespassers, and which I'd done before. I'd filled in on guitar for Tim when he couldn't make a tour one time, which was actual work because Tim is really good at guitar and learning his parts was not easy. And I actually felt like I was touring, but I was playing bass on this tour, which, obviously is still Nick's parts were pretty intricate, but not quite playing Tim's guitar parts.
Right.
So it was just fun the entire time. And not my band, you know. I don't have any responsibilities, really. No responsibilities. Yeah. I'm in Canada, a lawless land.
Yeah.
You know? We had like 5 days in Canada to start the tour, and then 4 or 5 days, afterwards, Detroit and Ohio and Tennessee or something like that. But anyways, the Canadian part of the tour was the best part because it was so unhinged.
Okay.
We had the best lineup that I think Trespassers ever had, because also filling in on guitar for that tour was Rob Button. So it's me, Rob, Matt Wotanik, Alec LeBounty, and who else was on the tour? Gotta be one more. Ryan Dugan.
Yeah, Ryan.
Ryan Dugan. So, I mean, that's just a recipe for fun.
100%. There's no, like, just yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great time. We joked the entire tour that it just felt like one long day. So, you know, on day 2, we were like, man, this just feels like it's still day 1. Day 3, we're like, man, it's still day 1. Day 4, we're like, man, like this, I can't believe it's still the same day. Like the entire Canadian part of it felt like day 1. So we joked that it's still day 1. So I eventually got a tattoo that said day 1. We talked about it for 5 years, or like 6 years. 6 years after this tour, I got a day 1 tattoo. But I was the first person to do it. I said I'd be the first person to do it.
Okay.
And I'm still the only one that has it.
Do you have the feather? Did you ever get the feather?
I have the feather. Me and
I
Mush.
still haven't done that, but I will someday.
Me and Mush got it on the tour. Rob got one.
Yeah.
That might be it.
What wasn't it your friend that gave it to you and Mush?
Yeah, Liz.
Yeah. In,
Shout out
Ohio?
Liz Siegel.
Yeah.
One of my favorite parts of this is we were playing in Montreal, which I'd never played a show in Montreal before. The show, I actually don't remember if it was good or not. It probably was, because I remember that whole tour being good. So we were on tour with Pine.
Okay.
And that band was awesome. I think they were from Ottawa. We played a show in Ottawa too, and that was great. But we met these girls at the show, and they're like, we're going to come back to our place after the show and party. You guys can come and crash if you want to. And we're like, yeah, absolutely. That sounds great. And it's like kind of a trip to get there. You know, it's not like down the road or like an easy drive. We had the van and trailer. We're like, we don't know where to park. We're in Canada. It's dark. It's late. Like, it's not a great part of town. And we're like, do we want to leave the van here? Like, it's kind of weird. But we eventually get over there, and now it's like really late. And we get in there, we're just like, she's having a party. We're like, we're partying, we're drinking, we're doing whatever. And she had a friend come with her, the friend that was with her at the venue, right? And I don't think she spoke a lot of English. I think she was, like, her first language was French.
Okay.
But she didn't talk much at all. And she's just sitting on the couch with a backpack, with an unopened backpack the entire time, right? And, like, hours go by. And she would, like, say, like, a word or two, but, like, not really in the conversation. And it gets to a point where there's nothing left to drink. Like, you know, it's a party. Everyone's drank everything. And we're like, okay, like, you know, should we go to bed? There's, like, all the drinks are gone, whatever, and everyone's tired. And she goes, gin? And we're like, what? Like, nobody mentioned gin.
Yeah.
And she's like, gin. Opens her book bag and pulls out a bottle of gin and hands it to me. I'm sitting next to her. Hands it to me, and it's ice cold. And I exactly. So I look in her bag. I'm like, is it just like a cooler? Is it? I look in there. No, it's just like books. I'm like, how is this ice cold still?
That's crazy.
So it was joked ice cold gin magic.
Did you drink it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you fucking crazy? Of course we drank the gin.
I had ice cold gin magic in Montreal. Am I saying no? No way. In a bad part of town, anything could happen. In a lawless land?
You know what? It probably is like the same idea as Waterboy when she pulls out the water and it's still cold and he's like, oh, it's some high quality H2O.
I think it was exactly. I think that's what I said, actually. High quality gin.
Some high quality gin.
Yeah. John gave me gin at his wedding.
I did. I've been known to give
You want to know a fun story?
give some gin. Yes.
I still have that bottle of gin.
So sorry.
I don't think I've opened it.
No, that's not true. I think everybody opened their drinks at the wedding.
All right,
before.
All right, then I think I poured a glass, and I think that's it.
Although we did kill a 30 before that.
I still have it, and there's not much gone.
Yeah, I believe that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just exists so I can remember
Well,
the time
you can use it
I
for
made
your
you run
training
on your
now.
wedding day.
Put it in front of you while you're running.
Maybe you were the beginning of this ridiculous running journey that I'm on.
No, you were running already, dude.
I was running, but not to the extent that I am now. What year did you get married?
What are you running from, Nick?
You want the whole list?
What are you running from?
How dark you want this podcast to get? we could get dark.
What did you ask me? I'm sorry. When did I get married?
Yeah.
2018.
2018.
Yeah.
I just started running. I started running in 2018 because I found a running cult.
Yeah. Checks out.
Yeah.
Checks out.
Yeah. It's great. You want to dive into that? We can.
No, I want to, yeah.
Sure.
I actually am very curious about this because when I'm arriving to work at 6 a.m., you are finishing a workout
I am.
every day.
Yeah.
And I'm like, damn, dude, sit down. Sleep. You're working 13-hour days. Go to
It's
sleep.
fun. It's fun. In 2018, Goodnight Forever had put our record out like the year before.
Yes.
Right? And to preface it, it took us a long time to write and record that record. We recorded the whole thing and threw it away and recorded it again because we wanted it to be good,
Perfect.
but it burned us out, right?
Yeah.
We tried to do a couple weekend tours. It wasn't working. Music pretty much was bumming me out at the time, which I hated, and I kind of needed another outlet. And I found this fitness community called November Project that works out outside every Wednesday morning. At 6 a.m, and I was like, this sounds terrible. I discovered that they're all over the world, but there's one in Syracuse, and I discovered that there was one in Syracuse in January. And I was like, I'm not going to go work out outside in January in Syracuse. It sounds terrible. 6 in the morning.
Are going to get cold.
Yeah, my toesies are going to fall off.
Yeah.
I was like, everything about this is miserable, and I don't like running. I was like, I don't like running.
All you do now?
Yeah, it was terrible. I'm like, this is intriguing. I know some of the people there. It looks like they're having fun. I'm not going to go yet until the weather gets nicer. Right. So in May of 2018, where like I'm actually pretty miserable at this time. Like music is like, I'm like, I need to take a step away from music, but I need something. Right. So I go, and the first day I was there, I was like, this was great. The community was great. I didn't exactly like the workout.
Right.
Because I don't like running and whatever, and it was early, but which wasn't like something that I was super into at the time. But the people were really great. I was like, this is a community I think that I could get into. So I kept going, and there were a lot of really good runners there, and I didn't want to be the worst one. So I just would push myself to keep up with them.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Because I wanted to hang out with these. I was like, man, I would be friends with these people.
Right.
And I don't want to be slow. So I eventually would just go out and run every day as fast as I could for as long as I could, which would be like 4 minutes. And then... And then I would just walk home, and I'd be like, "That's how you run, right? You just run as fast as you can for as long as you can,
right?"
I mean, no, it's terrible.
Well, does that teach you stamina?
I mean, it will build your endurance for sure, but you'll hurt yourself eventually doing that.
Okay.
Right? I didn't know that at the time.
Yeah.
But I was sad, and running really fast for 4 minutes felt good. I was like, oh man, like physical pain. Oh, cool. I was in a weird place. But so eventually I actually got really good at running and started enjoying it, and I liked the people that I met through this. And I went for a couple years, and then in the beginning of 2020, November Project got handed over to me in Syracuse, so I run it now.
Oh, wow.
Yep. So just the Syracuse chapter. We like co-lead. Everyone co-leads it together. I was co-leading it with a friend of mine, so we were doing it together. But I plan the workouts. I'm there setting everything up. Which was like pretty cool,
right?
At the time, it still is, but like at the time, I was like, "This is crazy! I can't believe like me, I'm doing this, whatever." But with that, we're sponsored by we were up until recently, we were sponsored by Brooks Running,
right? Which is a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're $1 billion company,
right.
And they would pretty much fund all the things that we would do. So once a year, they would fly us out to I went to San Diego for this thing they called Summit, and they do like convention stuff, and like we learn all these things. About the brand and about fitness and, all these other things that we're involved in. And we went to San Diego, and we went to Boulder, Colorado, and we were in Philly last year. And it's just like a cult, essentially. For fitness fanatics, right? But I fell right into it. I was like, I actually really love this.
That's great.
Which is wild. In 2018, I would have said you're crazy,
Right. Oh, yeah. 100%.
Yeah. When the pandemic happened and everything shut down, I was like, I would go run every day.
Yeah, that's all you had.
And I would do endurance running where I would do all these challenges, like how far can you run or how long can you run and all these things. And I fell in love with that, which is a whole nother cult in itself, And then I started doing ultras.
What's that?
So anything over a marathon, anything longer than a marathon.
Okay.
And I signed up for this race a year in advance, which is crazy, called Devil's Den. It's on Wrights Mountain in Vermont. And you're essentially just seeing how far, it's 6.5 mile loops, and you're just seeing how many loops you can run up and down the mountain for 30 hours straight.
Oh my God.
Right? I signed up for a year in advance because a friend of mine got me and my other friend Jason drunk in New York City and was like, you should sign up for this race. I just ran it. It's fun. This is for the following year, right? We're like, oh yeah, sounds great. So we sign up for it.
Bad friend. Sorry.
Bad friend. I know. I think my friend Jason would agree. Bad friend. But we're like, okay, we have a year to train, whatever. This is in November, right?
Yeah.
In January, because now I'm on this wild fitness journey, running journey, right? In January, I decided to do 75 hard, right? Are you familiar?
That?
So you do 2 workouts a day. They both have to be outside, 45 minutes, and you have to like drink a gallon of water every day. I can't remember the name of the guy that came up with the thing, but it's like, I don't know if it makes a lot of sense, but I was falling into those traps at the time.
Right, yeah.
I was like, yeah, I'll do 75 hard, whatever. And so I was like, I would get a run in for 45 minutes every single day, and then I'll do another like body weight workout or like hit the gym or something. And I went for a run at Green Lakes with a couple friends, which is a state park in Syracuse, on January 15th, and it was the negative 15 degrees blizzard, 5 a.m. But at the time, I'm like, great,
Yeah, I got to get out and run.
right? 6 miles in, I slip and break my leg.
I remember this.
Yep. And we were 2 miles away from the car. I'd driven 2 miles away from the car. They took turns carrying me to the car. And
How did that feel?
Terrible.
Was your adrenaline pumping like real good with that? Like,
So when we're dressed for, obviously we know it's going to be cold. So we're dressed for it, but because we're running, we're sweating.
Right.
And then now we're not running and the sweat is drying
and you're freezing.
And I'm actually nervous that if we don't get to the car fast enough, it's actually going to be like an issue, So I'm kind of freaking out.
Hypothermia and all that
I
shit?
tried to walk on. I was like, I don't care if I'm making it worse. At this point, I have to get out of here. So I was trying to walk on. I literally could not put weight on it. I'm just trying to walk on a broken leg.
Yeah, you're a nutcase.
And so they're taking turns carrying me out, but it's slippery, and they're like slipping, we're falling all over the place. Yeah, my buddy Alex literally has me on his back and just slips and falls right on top of me.
Oh,
right?
man.
But eventually we get there. They get us in the car, get to the hospital. Once we're at the hospital, everything's fine. Jokes,
Yeah,
everyone at the hospital was like, why were you out there running?
Yeah.
And I was like, it's a great question.
That's what we do.
It's a great question. Why was I out there running? But anyways.
You're like, have you heard about our Lord and Savior, whatever the guy's name that started this fucking club?
Meanwhile, I'm thinking, like, man, I signed up for this race, that I really want to do. It's in October, and I'm like, can I heal from this, train for this race still, and run it? And I do, because I work at SU also.
Okay, yeah.
And they hooked me up with a really good PT team, and I broke my leg January 15th, and I was running in the beginning of April.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a quick...
Yeah.
How bad was the break?
So I had a spiral fracture of my fibula right above my ankle, and everyone was like, that's going to take a long time to heal.
Right.
But I would go to PT, and they were like, we're going to put you on a treadmill ASAP. Because they work with athletes.
Right, so they know the proper way to...
Yeah, they're like, what's your sport? And I was like, running. They're like, put you on a treadmill as soon as we can. So they did a really good job.
Yeah.
So by April, I was like, I had lost all of the muscle in my leg. My leg looked ridiculous compared to the other one.
Do you have pictures of that?
Wild. Probably, yeah.
Send me that if you can find them.
I will.
Yeah.
So by April, I'm running, and now I'm like, I had missed running. I'm thinking about it all the time. I've never spent so much time on my couch. I was just losing my mind. And so I'm like, now I'm like trying to build back stronger,
Right.
Which actually gave me a lot of motivation to like get out and train because I'd missed it. I was doing it smarter now. I wasn't just going out and running as fast as I could for as long as I could. Like when I started running, now I'm like on a training plan and I'm like doing the right stuff. And I came back really strong and I ran that race and I ran 76 miles.
Holy shit, dude.
Yeah.
Now, just to back up a little bit, I remember you mentioning like in that maybe before or in the meantime or whatever, you had like all those endorsements or sponsorships with Brooks, right?
Yeah.
And then like the clothing or whatever too. Did they give you that like I know that they were giving you shoes or sneakers all the time. Did they pay you to run in that?
No. They'll, if there's like Brooks sponsored events, they'll take care of that.
Yeah.
But
basically they'll pay your way.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
But for anything that I'm doing like outside of that but they send me shoes, clothing, stuff of that nature, which I'm eternally grateful for. Because it kind of helps offset the price of
everything else.
I run a lot and I use a lot of shoes.
Yeah,
so,
yeah, you're crazy. You crazy.
But yeah, dude, that running ultras like that is a whole different.
I couldn't
thing.
imagine like when I was in high school, we used to go to Chestnut Ridge and in soccer, and we would run up and down the hill. Dude, there's no way you could get me to do that for 76 miles. How was there a point where you were like, "Oh my god, the same fucking tree"?
No, because what happens is you start at 6 a.m. and you run through the day.
Yeah.
And then when you're like, okay, like I know the route, because you're just running 6.5 miles over and over again, up and down the mountain, up and down the mountain. And then the sun goes down and you do it in the dark. And you're like, I don't know any of this anymore. This is crazy. You have a headlamp
it's like
on.
a whole new different
It's a whole new thing.
Okay.
And then halfway through the night, you start losing your mind. And you're like, where am I? This is crazy.
Are people like bringing tents to like take a little nap and shit?
Yeah. You camp out. You're just in the middle of nowhere where you're in a field. Like base camp was in a field, and like I took an hour and a half nap, in the tent.
Yeah.
It got back up and
So
started.
you probably could have hit
again.
100 if you didn't.
If I did it again, which I don't know if I will, but if I did it again, I would go for 100 miles for sure.
That's insanity, dude. I've heard about like those ultras where they're like, oh, it's a 150-mile run.
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know. You get addicted to it.
Yeah, you do get that high too, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you're just a fiend.
Yeah.
You're
that
disgusting.
rate in the 76 miles that I ran, because you're going up and down the mountain.
You were high the whole time.
I was still from Arizona, actually.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, I wasn't there, actually.
Allegedly.
So I got, in total, 21,000 feet of elevation.
That's insane. That's too many feet.
It's a lot of feet. Everest is 29,000, to put that in perspective.
Wait, so say that one more time?
Mount Everest is 29,000 feet, and I ran 21,000 feet
So
of
you
elevation.
scaled Mount Everest almost.
I was there.
Here's his pictures. Anyways. That's wild.
Yeah.
And you're still doing it.
Yeah, still love it. I'm not doing ultras right now. I'm training for a marathon, which is actually harder.
Really?
Yeah.
So what's the one where you like ride a bike? Then
triathlons?
Have you ever thought about doing one of those?
The same person that talked me into running the Devil's Den.
Yeah.
The bad friend.
Bad friend.
Bad friend. She was doing a triathlon. She was like, you should do it too. I was like, okay. I'm not a great swimmer. Mm-hmm. So I was like, that's what I would have to focus on. I can bike and, can run, obviously. She was like, yeah, we'll go to a pool like and swim. Like I'll get us, into a ball, like sign us up, whatever for a swim. I'm like, sure, let's go. 50-meter pool. Couldn't make it to the other side.
Really?
Yep.
So you just didn't do it?
On the first day, I said, I'm not going to put the effort in to learn how to swim.
I get that because it's like, drowning.
Dude,
like
drowning. I was actually nervous.
Yeah.
I was like, I hadn't swam in a long time, like actually swam.
Yeah.
In the pools, the lane swimming, full of people just crushing laps. And I got to the middle of the pool, and it's deep, I can't touch the bottom. And I was like, what if I don't make it? Now I'm freaking out, and I'm in the middle of the pool. I'm like, oh my God, can I not swim?
This is how I die.
Don't let me die here.
You're like, you're a bad friend.
Yeah. And then I just haven't swam since.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's insane. Dude, that's crazy. That's awesome for you.
Yeah.
I'm not going anywhere near that shit.
It's great.
Yeah.
No.
That's wild.
I did ride my bike to Philadelphia, though.
Tell me about that.
It was insane.
When did you do that?
In September of last year.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't remember you telling me about that.
No?
No, I don't think we've talked about this.
Okay, good story.
Yeah.
Me and the bad friend.
Here we go.
She's a bad influence on me.
It used to be me.
She's actually
With the alcohol.
She's actually running in the Alps right now in France.
That's actually pretty
It's
cool.
amazing. I wish I was there.
That's cool.
But anyways, we were like, let's ride our bike. We both had to be in Philly. It was for a November Project Brooke sponsor event. And we're like, do you want to ride your bike there? We're like, let's do it. And
Hold on. You were like, we're going to go run at this thing, but on the way,
yes.
let's ride our fucking bikes there?
Yes.
You're a madman. That's
Yes.
it. That's honestly insane.
It's because there's no swimming.
I'm mad. I'm angry. I'm concerned.
She said, we're going to Philly to run. Do you want to ride your bike? There's no swimming.
That's how she presented.
I said, sign me up.
Oh, that's so funny.
But we did it in 4 days. It's like 80 miles a day,
Yeah.
right? And on day 3, we're riding on essentially old rail trails.
Mm-hmm.
We're not on the road, we're just like taking bike trails.
Mm-hmm.
And on day 3, we had this huge climb at the beginning. It was like a 2,000-foot climb. And we get to the top, and then it was 60 straight miles of downhill.
So you just coasted.
We're just coasting, which I know this might sound crazy, but I was blown away that there was even 60 miles of downhill anywhere.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's a lot.
That's a lot of downhill.
But how downhill? Was it steep? Or was it like...
Parts of it were steep, but most of it was just like coasting.
Partial-
But it was downhill the whole time.
Yeah,
I was like, wow, it was fun. On a bike downhill,
like
60 miles.
If
Fun.
we're talking angles... in degrees.
I think it's grades,
Okay.
and it was an A+.
Okay, fair.
Yeah, so 60 straight miles downhill. So we're just like having a great time, right? And we get to this town called John Thorpe.
Okay.
You ever heard of it?
He sounds nice.
He was great. I had never heard of it. She had been there before, apparently, but I never heard of it. Cool, really cool town. So we get there. This is like, towards the end of the downhill, and so we stopped there for dinner. And there's a cool little beer shop, right, or bottle shop, and we grab beers. And I'm like, I've never been in this town before. There's got to be cool local stuff, and we're looking for stuff. And I just buy a 4-pack of something that looks interesting. She buys a 4-pack of something that looks interesting. Get back on the bikes. We're on the bike for like 5 seconds, and one of her beers falls off and gets a little puncture in it. She's like, looks like we're shotgunning this one. I'm like, and we already had been drinking, right?
Yeah.
And so she drinks half of it, I drink half of it. Our beers are like 11%, not for any reason. That's just like the ones that we got, right?
Yeah.
And we're like riding our bike, having a good time. We're not really having to pedal or still going downhill. We're just like drinking our beers, and we end up drinking all of them, right? And
That's so much.
and I just like without warning, all of a sudden, I'm sure you've been here before. You know this feeling. You're like, I've had too much.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
And I was like, I'm drunk, and I'm riding a bike.
And you
know?
got the spins now.
Yeah. And I ride my bike into hers, and I fall off, and I break my finger. Yeah. And, and I'm like, oh man, this. I mean, I'm drunk enough to where like it doesn't really hurt, but I know it's broken. I'm like, that's broke for sure.
Yeah.
And we camped out, and then we had another day of riding, and every time I hit like a bump, I could feel it in my finger. I was like, this is terrible. And then we were in Philly for a few days. I ran a half marathon. We went back to Syracuse, and then I went to the hospital.
How did it feel running? Like every bounce?
It hurt the entire time.
Yeah,
it was
that.
constant pain.
What does
it was
look like
bad.
now?
Fine. It's this guy. Little guy, you don't need it.
You mean the one that's shaking?
Yeah.
Like-
I went to the hospital. They took an X-ray of it, and you know that the X-ray tech can't diagnose you.
Yeah.
He looks at the X-ray and he goes, "Oh yeah, you heard it real good." And I was like,
You're like, what gave it away?
"Yeah." I was like, "What I do?" And he walks out and he goes, "They'll tell you about it."
That's really funny. That's hilarious.
Yeah, I broke it in 2 places. It was
You're nuts.
Yeah, they put a little splint on it. I had to wear it for like a month.
I just want to point something out to you. I sit on my ass, play video games, smoke some meats,
Yeah,
do this stuff.
the finer things.
Yeah. And I don't break no bones.
You know,
You I'm going to go for a run. I'm going to ride this bike. Healthy shit. Broken.
You know,
You break.
Bert.
Bert. Yeah, I know.
You know Bert? Yeah.
Shout out Bert.
Every single time Bert smokes a cigarette, I say that's bad for you because I just want to let him know.
Yeah.
And now he always says, I never broke a bone smoking a cigarette. It's a great response.
So true, though. It's so true.
Shout out to Bert.
Oh, that's awesome. I love Bert.
Speaking of Bert, I could segue into a good story.
Let's go. Let's hear it.
Here we go. So, Bert, who has done a lot of traveling, anytime he was in Iowa, would go to Iowa City to this place called Basta's and get the same sandwich.
Okay.
Best sandwich he's ever had. Talked about it, right? I'm like, I got to try this sandwich. So I have some days off. Bad friend that gets me into trouble all the time, right? Is like, I want it too. She's got days off. It's around Christmas, right before Christmas.
Right.
Or maybe right after, around Christmas. And we're like, you want to just drive to Iowa and get the sandwich? We got days off. Why not? Drive out night before, crash, wake up, get lunch at this place, drive back. All right, 14-hour drive. Why not? We've all done long drives, right?
First sandwich.
Bert says the best sandwich he's ever had in his life.
All right.
I drive 14 hours there, there and back for best sandwich I've ever had.
Okay. I'm listening.
So, anyways, we drive all the way there, right? It's in like a college town. I can't remember what the college is, but they're off because it's Christmas. It's dead, but we're like, what are we going to do? We get there pretty late. So we go to a bar, get a drink. We're just hanging out. And we meet somebody who works at Basta's, the place that we're going to get the sandwich from, right? And we're like, yeah. They're like, what are you guys doing here? Like, we just start small talk. What are you guys doing here? We're like, oh, we drove from Syracuse, New York to go to Basta's to get this sandwich. He's like, you drove from Syracuse to get a sandwich at Basta's? We're like, yeah. And he goes, we don't do lunch anymore. We don't make sandwiches anymore. Pizza and pasta for dinner.
Must not have been that good.
We woke up the next day, got breakfast at the diner, and drove back to Syracuse.
That's crazy, man. That's... I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted from that story, dude. Oh, my God.
Shout out, bosses. Bring the sandwich back.
Unreal. Unfucking real.
Yep.
So when you were still doing Ahnest, you released a record that you wrote basically, like, was it on the tour we were on? Or was it was just about like the experiences?
I wrote it immediately upon getting home.
Okay.
Like the next day.
What was it called again?
A year spent in parking lots.
Right. Yeah.
Because I think I had spent maybe 200 plus days on the road that year, 2013. Because we did a lot of touring with A Fortune Fame. I did a lot of solo touring. We did an A Fortune Fame acoustic tour. That one tour alone was 50 days. I was on the road a lot that year. That was when I was like, music is what I'm doing.
Right. Yeah.
Until
before you gave up on the dream.
Until I gave up. Yeah. At the end of the 50-day when I was like, ugh.
This will never happen again.
Yeah. So and then we got home and I wrote A Year Spent in Parking Lots. That is actually maybe some of the saddest stuff I've ever written, but very true. I mean,
yeah, you can feel when I listen to that record, you can feel the emotion in it. And like maybe I feel it a little more because I was like along for the ride.
Sure.
As far as like being with you in those moments. So like I know a little bit more maybe what you mean in some moments.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, it definitely is a very emotional.
The way I try to explain it to people, and I guess doesn't make a lot of sense even to me sometimes, but I'm sure people have felt this and also had a hard time explaining it, is that I had a really good time and a really bad time the whole time simultaneously.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even when things were really good, things were bad.
Right.
And even in the bad moments, things were good. And that's how I felt the entire tour.
Yeah.
I was pretty sad, but I was with 8 of my friends on tour playing shows every day.
Literally creating like a bond that is unbreakable.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Sure. And then I'm having a good time, but we're all sleeping in a van, 9 of us sleeping in a van most of the nights. And that weighs on you. And we're drinking every day.
Every day.
It's just kind of part of the culture of it. You slip into that.
Because what the hell else is there to do?
What are you going to do?
Point?
A lot of times you're doing an overnight drive. You get to the venue and you do it again,
Right.
And it's just kind of repeats itself over and over again. So when I got back from that tour, I wrote like a very real interpretation of how I thought the tour went. And
that was the first full band record, right?
Yeah,
full instrumental rather.
Yeah, well, I'd done one before, but this was like I had essentially put together the parts.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
I just hired musicians on past stuff. This was more me and Steve Sopchak wrote it together, and it's just like I'm pretty proud of that record.
I still bump it.
Yeah.
It's still a great record. I mean, I listen to all your stuff, but that record is like, again, you could feel the pure like emotion and everything in it. So yeah,
it's cool. It's cool to listen to it. I feel the same way that I did on the tour when I listened to it because I'm very proud of that record.
Yeah.
But it reminds me of like all the bad parts of it.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I don't know. I could see that being like because it came from you, so you're like we don't. The traditional probably won't play ever again. Maybe
one more time.
Good luck. Good luck. But
Fortune and Fame probably never play again for more than one reason. But
yeah, I mean, whatever. It's
too many moving parts. Who would play?
Do you mean tiny moving parts?
I didn't.
Speaking of tiny moving parts, one of my favorite tour memories is Caught on Film.
I have a really great story about, I think, what you're talking about.
With the tape?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's not the story I was going to tell, but same night.
Okay,
same night.
Real quick, we played a show in Nashville, and it was with Tiny Moving Parts. I don't remember who else.
Feather Oars, which is essentially Secret Stuff before they were Secret Stuff. Bloom, which is essentially Better Off before they were Better Off. It was just Luke, I think. A Fortune, Fame, the traditional, and Tiny Moving Parts, which is
insane.
A stacked show at the time.
Especially because they, like Tiny Moving Parts this was like maybe at the beginning of their climb.
Yeah.
But after the show, what was the place called? It was like
the Owl Farm.
Owl Farm, yeah. We played the show, and we're hanging out afterwards, just kind of shooting the shit. We're all just running around being goofy. And was it you and Bear?
Rob.
Rob
Bear.
and Bear, yeah. And they were like hugging or something, and I was like, hey, check this out. And I found painter's tape.
Yeah.
And I just started to run around them, taping them together for like at least 5 minutes.
Oh,
until we ran out of tape.
They were so taped.
Oh, yeah. And then they fell.
Well, Michael Full, who put the show together, tackled them.
Yes.
There's a video of it if you want to.
Yeah, I'll find it.
Throw it
up there.
Rob almost breaks his leg.
I remember
It's
that.
disgusting to watch.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
But they just fall over and then they're just rolling.
Yeah. I remember the shriek of, oh, my leg! And being like, oh, I just killed Rob. Even though I didn't tackle him. But
throw the video in there.
Yeah.
It's not fun to watch.
Yeah.
Rob has had knee problems for the rest of his life.
So sorry, Rob.
I think that was the beginning of his knee issues.
Yeah. No, it was before that.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was before that because he was wearing a knee brace on that tour. It just didn't help.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
But yeah, another story about that show is it was like 1,000 degrees in the venue. I don't know if you remember. It was so hot in there.
Yeah.
And we had gone to a liquor store that was next door, and I bought a bottle of gin. I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't know. Because it was there.
Yeah, it goes there, I guess. It was not a great liquor store.
They had all that fried food and shit. It was almost like a bodega.
Yeah. But we all got like a bottle of liquor, which I don't really drink, so I don't know why I got it. But I get in the venue and I hadn't even opened it yet, and it's we start playing and it's just like sitting by the drum kit, and we start playing. I realize none of us have water. And it's like 100 degrees in there, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like when you're singing, like your throat gets dry, right? And I was like, I need to drink something. I grab the bottle open, I take a sip of it, right? And we finished it. It made me feel so sick, especially because it was so hot in there. I took one sip, right? And we end our set. I immediately walked outside and threw up.
I remember.
On my Polar Bear Club shirt that I loved.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm not taking this with me in the van with 8 other people.
Right, yeah.
There's no way, like we're driving over now, there's no way that I'm cleaning it. So I just threw it away.
R.I.P.
Rest in peace to that shirt and Polar Bear Club.
Yeah, to both, yeah. That was very symbolic.
Yeah, it
You
was.
threw that shirt away just like they threw their musical endeavors
They were
away.
actually on their last tour, I think,
Yeah.
at the time while we were out.
Because we were listening to that new record with all the clean vocals, and we
Yeah.
were like, "This is so good." And then
Yep.
they just
And
that
then-
was it. Oh man, sad.
What a
Sad.
bummer. What a bummer.
What a bummer.
That was a great show, though. Besides it being too hot, me deciding to take a shot of gin in the middle of our set. Great show.
Between that, that was the hey Alex, how does a rhino eat his food?
Yes.
And then what was it called? The casual.
The Casual.
Is that what it's called?
The Casual, I think, right?
When you please explain what it is. Because this was the first time I witnessed this after you had thrown up.
Casual is while you pee while you're walking. And you just do it so casually that nobody really notices.
It was dark out. There was nobody around except for us.
You're just walking in a group and
You just start peeing.
as casually as you can.
And then a little bit down the ways, your bandmates realize, oh, are you pissing? Are you pissing right now?
You got to keep it casual, though.
It's casual.
You got to keep it casual.
Okay. All right. We got
Let's
two more here.
let's go to that guy. This is a
one?
good one, yeah.
Okay. Let's hear this one.
So, Unfortunate Fame did a tour with Head North, who just recorded new music.
Yeah. So Ben said that they don't know what's happening with it yet. But
Okay, I saw they were in the studio.
they recorded a record.
Okay,
I don't know how many songs. I don't know what.
Sure.
They hadn't recorded when he did his episode. They were here. He was in town for that.
Okay.
But yeah.
okay. So we did a tour with Head North. That might have been 2013 as well.
Okay.
Because I did most of that was the longest year touring for me. But anyways, that was probably earlier in the year, maybe in the summer. So we did this tour with Head North, and we are playing somewhere along the coast of Connecticut, and the van starts acting really weird. Right? We're in probably Tim's van. I think we were using at the time.
Yeah.
And it starts acting really weird. It's like sputtering, and we're driving by a Walmart. It's close. We're almost at the venue. We're like, let's just pull in here. The show's the next day, right? It's late. We did the over. We're like, let's just pull in this Walmart and sleep, and we'll figure it out tomorrow. You know, when the Walmart opens, if we have to get parts or something, like we'll figure it out.
Right.
We get there, and all of us are kind of hyped up. You know, we hadn't expected to just spend the night in the parking lot, and I pull up my map on my phone, and the street that we're on, if you stay on it, just goes right to the ocean, right? I just look at it at a glance. I'm like, I'm going to take a walk down to the water. They're like, how far is it? I was like, I don't know. But it didn't matter. I was like, I just want to, it's probably like 10 p.m.,
yeah.
right? It was, I think, me, Rob, a photographer we had with us at the time, Olin Queen.
Yeah, I remember Olin.
And maybe a couple members of Head North came with us. I can't remember if they were even with us. Anyways, we start walking, and we're walking for a long time, like 2 hours.
Right.
And, you know, we're just like talking and doing whatever. We're just kind of zoning out, right? Just it's something to do. But eventually, after like a little over 2 hours, we're like, where is the water? So I pull up on my map, and it's actually like a 4-hour walk, right? And we're more than halfway there now. And we're like, do we just go? Do we just finish it? Like, it doesn't really matter what we're doing. You know, we have the whole next day, right? So we're like, let's just go. We commit to it, right? So we walk like 4 hours to the beach, and we wait for the sun to come up. We're exhausted, right? Sun comes up. We're not there very long. We're like, we have to walk back. So we start walking back, and we realize that everyone's phones are dead. So we can't call everyone that stayed with the van, right? And we're like, well, we should probably get back like before they wake up, or they're probably going to be concerned, looking for us. We don't want them to leave.
Right.
We can't call them, right? So we start running. Maybe this is the beginning of my running journey. So we start.
This was it, dude?
Yeah, we're like 6 hours into this walk, right?
Yeah.
And so we start running, and we just get exhausted. We're just totally spent. So we stop at a McDonald's, and we're like, we'll stop, we'll get some food, we'll like hang out for a minute. Olin falls asleep in a booth, right? And we're like, Olin, we're going, like, get up. He's like, no, leave me. I'm like, Olin, we're not leaving you. Like, what are you talking about?
There's no way of getting a hold of you.
Yeah, we're not leaving you. He's like, no, I can't go on.
It's too far.
Leave me. He's like going like this. Leave. He's sleeping in the booth at the McDonald's. Leave me. And eventually we're like, okay. And we leave him there.
Yeah.
And so we go back out, and we're like running to like get back now. It's like 10 a.m. now. We left at like 10 p.m. It's like 12 hours into this at this point.
Yeah.
And we're so tired, right? And we're like almost back to the van, and Olin comes sprinting by us. He doesn't even see us. He's like delusional. He's like, don't leave me, right? Runs right by us to the van. We get back to the van. We're all exhausted. Rob lays down in like, in Walmart, there's like the mulch dividers. Like he lays down in one, and a bee lands on his face. Like, he lays down, closes his eyes, falls asleep, and a bee lands like right here above his eye, and he doesn't know what his eyes are closed. He thinks it's like a bug or whatever.
Yeah.
Just goes like this, and squishes it into his eye, and it stings him. His whole eye just swells up.
Yeah.
Right? So he's even more miserable now. We're all tired. We go to the show. The show's actually awesome. We fixed the van. Was whatever the issue was, they got it fixed.
Classic.
And we go to the venue, and I haven't slept at this point.
Right.
And we played our set, and there's a ton of people at the show. The headliner was a local, and they brought a ton of people out, and they watched our set. They were really nice. But I was like, I have to sit down for their set, but I want to watch it. Mm-hmm. There's a chair like right next to the PA, like kitty corner the stage, right? And I'm like, I know this is kind of like not the best look, but I have to sit down.
Yeah.
So I sit down, and I immediately fall asleep, and I slept through the entire set.
Through Head Norths? Or
No,
the locals?
The local
Locals.
headliner. Yeah. And I felt so bad. I slept through there. I was sitting almost up against the stage.
Yeah, wow.
And I slept through the whole set.
Crazy. That's funny.
Yeah. I don't know. I can't remember the name of that band, but sorry if you're out there. You guys were great.
Well, now they'll understand, because we know they're watching, whoever you are. I feel like I've done, maybe not fell asleep at shows and stuff, but I've just done that so many times to where, like, as far as like not watching the people I should be, and then I've just missed like amazing bands.
Yeah.
Like, we played with Pine Grove in a basement, and I stood outside smoking cigarettes and drinking beers the entire time.
Yeah.
I fucking love Pine Grove, dude. I had no idea who they were at the time, but it's like, just sit it. Like, you're on tour, you don't think about it, but yeah.
Yeah. I saw Paramore in 2005. They were support on an acceptance tour.
Oh, wow.
Haley Williams was like 16. I'd never heard of them. I watched 2 songs and went outside.
Wow.
There was maybe 30 people there.
That's crazy. That's...
I didn't know. I'm so sorry,
done
Haley.
goofed.
Haley, I'm so sorry.
Well, when I have her on the pod, we'll be sure to talk shit about you.
That's fine.
Jerk.
I told you I'd take the blame for anything. It's fine.
I love that. Did we say Jack or Zach in Denver?
No, let's hit it.
Okay, let's do it.
Here's bad friend. The person who talks me into all these bad things that I've done.
You're letting them control you?
She's actually incredible. She's really good.
I believe you.
Yeah. So Brooks, this was last July. It was about a year ago. Brooks flew all of the November Project co-leaders out to Boulder. Well, we flew into Denver, and then we went to Boulder for essentially a conference. Right,
Okay.
That's the best way I could explain it. For leaders to just learn more about the brand and ways that we can, better the community. Right.
Okay.
I was super burnt out at work at the time. Hannah, my friend, was also super burnt out at work at the time. We were like, do we go? Because they'll fly, they pay for us to fly out, right?
Right.
It doesn't matter when we get our tickets or where we fly into as long as we get to the convention, right? We're like, do you want to go a week early and just spend a week in Denver? We're like, yes. So we book our flights a week before the conference, right? And we're just like working a lot, right?
Right.
And we never talk about it again. We book our flights and we make zero plans for the week that we're there.
It was just
nothing, right? And then the day comes for our flight and we get on the plane and we're like, what are we going to do when we get there? And
Run.
We're like, does it matter? We're on, like, essentially it's vacation.
Yeah.
And we don't talk about it on the flight. And we land in Denver. I don't know if you've ever flown into Denver, but the airport is outside of Denver, and then there's a train system, and you take the train into town.
Okay.
Right? And we get on the train, and we're like, so when we get into town, do we rent a car? Where do we go? Where we're staying? We didn't book hotels. Like, we had zero plans, right? And I'm on the train, and I'm like 20 minutes out of Denver at this point, and I remember that my friend Zach, who played in a band with Tim, Townhouse Warrior, moved to Denver, and he lives there now. And I'm like, maybe he could steer us in the right direction. What do we do, you know? And I was like, I would love to have seen him. I hadn't seen him in a while, right? So I call him, and this is July. I'm like, hey, man, like, I'm sorry this is so last minute. I'm going to be in Denver in like 20 minutes. What are you up to? We have no plans. He's like, dude, I'm a teacher, and I have summers off. I will meet you at the train station.
That's awesome.
I'm like, okay, cool. Like, now I have like at least the next step, right?
Yeah.
And so we meet him, and he brings his car, right? He's driving us around. He's showing us Denver, the spots. He brings us to a couple places. We get some food, and he's like, his girlfriend at the time. I don't think they're together anymore, but at the time, he's like, she gets off work. Let's go meet her at this brewery. My singer in my band works there. We'll all get together. I'll introduce you to them. It'll be fun. We're like, that sounds awesome. Next step, right? We're like, cool. Like,
now you're making plans.
Yeah, this day's getting good,
Yeah.
right? So we show up. His girlfriend shows up. Wonderful. She's super nice. I have never met her before in my life, right? I hadn't seen Zach in like a year. We haven't even talked in probably a year, right? And we start talking, and she's like, why are you here? What are your plans? And we're like, we don't know. She's like, where are you? Now it's late, too. And we've just had been like enjoying the day. She's like, where are you staying tonight? I'm like, I don't know. And she's like, here's the keys to my car. Here's the key to my apartment. I'll stay with Zach. Yours for the week.
Wow.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Go wherever you want. She has a 4Runner
Yeah.
that's set up for camping.
Okay.
She has a bed in the back. She's like, go wherever you want.
That's amazing.
We went to Rocky Mountain National Park. We went to Colorado Springs. We spent the whole week just having the time of our lives.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Dropped it back off afterwards. And I feel like that's like very the music community.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
Just like things kind of fall into place.
Right.
I've
yeah.
never had anything fall into place quite that well.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Did you guys ever do couch surfing?
Only one time.
Okay.
Yeah.
We used to do that like if we were really down and out.
Yeah.
Like if we were like, we can't stand the fan. Not tonight. It's negative degrees. Or we got a shower. We just need somewhere that has a roof over our head, whatever. And even those people that were like, hey, come in. This is for you, blah, blah, blah. Here's this, that, and the other. Still felt like there was like you're welcome, but you're not 100% welcome.
Yeah.
That is crazy that this girl never even met you.
Just met her.
That's insane.
But I was friends with Zach, and, you know, she was like, you know Zach, I trust you.
Yeah,
I
that's
trust
cool.
Zach.
That's really cool.
We there was one night where we tried to sleep in a Walmart parking lot because we were leaving Rocky Mountain National Park and we were going to Colorado Springs, and obviously we don't have places to stay. Car's perfect for sleeping in. And we try to sleep in, I'm like, Walmart parking lot. I've done it 1,000 times, right? Mm-hmm. We get set up there, and a security guard comes by and says, you cannot sleep here. I said, yes, I can. I've slept in 1,000 Walmart parking lots.
Right, yeah.
He's like, not this one. It's not allowed. It's against the law to sleep in this Walmart parking lot. And I was like, okay, where do you suggest that I go right now? And he points to like a coal muffler or something across the street, and he was like, you can sleep there. That's where we send everybody. I'm like, why don't you just it's across the street?
Yeah.
Like, why don't you just let people sleep here? He's like, can't do it.
It's like we've had far too many people cooking meth in our parking lot. We need to put an end to this.
Might be.
No, they usually do that inside.
True.
They do. That is a real thing that happened, but sorry.
Yeah. So when you sleep in a Walmart parking lot, for people that maybe aren't familiar, you can park in the back and be unbothered. People do it all the time, right? It's not even like a touring musician thing. Like just people traveling, you sleep in a Walmart parking lot. It's like an across the board known thing, right?
The only stipulation is typically it has to be a 24-hour.
Yeah. Yep. Which this one was, but apparently whatever the law was there, you couldn't. So he sent us to the coal muffler. Coal muffler, tiny parking lot, not really a place to like get out of the way. So we park and we don't have plans, so we're just going to sleep in. And we are disheveled. We've been sleeping in a car for a week, right? And when we get up in the morning, it's like 9. We wake up because the business has opened and they're working on cars, and there's a line of cars waiting to go in. And we got out via the trunk, right? You know, the hatch goes open and you get out. And we open this thing looking terrible, and the looks from the people waiting to get into this coal muffler, you would have thought were seeing ghosts.
Yeah.
They're like,
There's someone in there?
Yeah. And it was almost like, I don't know if you've ever been to Colorado Springs.
I don't know.
It was very like,
I think so.
It was very like, in my town? Like they look scared.
Yeah.
They're like nervous.
Yeah.
They're like, what, in my coal muffler parking lot?
This is where we change our tires.
I've woken up many times in a Walmart parking lot, only once in a coal muffler.
Do you remember when that last fucking night, dude, when we had canceled the rest of the tour, and we were like an hour away from Buffalo?
Yeah, we
where
played
vehicles were?
222 Ormsby in Pittsburgh.
Yes.
Yeah,
and we were driving, and it was like so shitty and cold out.
It's terrible.
And we're like, all right, we just got to make it home. And then the lights weren't working, so we couldn't drive all the way. So we stayed in the parking lot, and we were just all so beat. We were just beat to shit. It was cold. It was snowing. We couldn't leave the van on.
Yeah.
Like,
Yep. I got
some of my favorite moments.
We got back to Buffalo that morning. We were all so happy to be home.
Yeah.
But Rob and I left my car at somebody's house, right? While we were gone. I'm driving Rob back to Syracuse. We get in my car and we pull out onto the road, like out of the driveway and onto the road.
Yeah.
And I stop. It's snowing out. I stop and I slide slightly into the intersection, and there's cars coming. So I just put my car in reverse and back up so I can see the light, and I back right up into the car behind me.
Classic.
I'm in my car for 10 seconds. I'm like, I just want to be home.
You're like, I've driven for the last 50 days. I have driven this vehicle for 12 hours plus on some days, and this is how my
I was so miserable.
This is how my
and Rob is like, stop! As soon as I start going backwards, I didn't even look. I was like, I'm in the intersection. Like, why is the person behind me so close to me?
Because they slid too.
Probably.
Yeah, probably.
But they were like, oh man, I didn't hit him, and then I backed up.
I just remember us like trying to get home that night, and it was getting dark. We weren't gonna make it, and we were like, fuck it, we'll stop it. We'll stay at Walmart.
Yeah.
And that same thing happened. We were pulling the trailer, and we were coming to a red light, and we started, whoever it was that was driving hit the brakes, and we just kept going, and we're like, this is it.
Yep.
This is
where it ends.
the end.
This is where it ends.
That also in fucking, you remember that in the Rocky Mountains?
No, because I made a point to not look out the windows.
Yeah,
and
that was
try to
terrifying.
sleep the entire time.
That was terrifying.
I was trying to stay awake because I was like, we should probably all stay awake.
Yeah.
Just in case. And like 5 minutes in the drive, I was like, I have to at least try to sleep because I was terrified.
Yeah. Jeez.
That
was a terrifying moment, but we lived through it, and we have so many stories.
We left Texas one time. I think we were leaving Musha's uncle's place.
Yes.
And I think a date had gotten canceled or something. We had to go all the way to Nashville.
Okay.
And it was when we couldn't turn the van off. What we did, we had to get it jumped to start.
Yeah.
And I drove us over, and everyone was asleep. I didn't have anybody awake because everyone was exhausted at this point. I drove us to, I don't know if anybody knows this. I don't know if I've told this story. I drove us from Texas to Tennessee, and I stopped every 2 hours and at a gas station, got coffee and put a little gas in the van just to not fall asleep. But I never turned the van off the entire time.
I remember when that was happening because I was driving at one point and we were driving through Florida and there were palm trees with Christmas lights all the way up. Do you remember that?
No.
There were palm trees. I might have just been me awake at this point. And there were Christmas lights all the way up they looked like Christmas trees. And I just remember getting out of the van and leaving it on. And someone was like, your van's on. What are you doing? And I was like, I know. Leave me alone.
Yeah, no,
like,
we were
please.
so miserable at that point.
Life, man.
Long
Tour's so
drives.
great.
The longest drive I ever did, though, was from Buffalo, New York to Spokane, Washington. And we did it in one shot.
4.
So I had 3 weeks off. My girlfriend at the time had 3 weeks off. We wanted to drive from Seattle, Washington to San Diego and essentially just enjoy the coast.
Yeah.
But we wanted to get out there as fast as we could, right? So we left Buffalo and just drove straight to Spokane. And I drove we were taking my car. I drove a manual.
Manual, yeah.
She couldn't drive it.
I remember this.
I taught her how to drive it in a Target parking lot, and she did really well, but she was still freaking out about it. I let her drive it on the drive, she was driving for I was like, I have to sleep like a little bit. I was asleep for like 1 hour, and she wakes me up because something's happening. I'm like, what's going on? She's driving through a construction zone, and there's a dump truck in front of her, and the dump truck is pulling into where the construction is, like where it says do not follow, on the truck. Yeah. But she's following it, and I'm like, okay, I'm driving now.
Yeah, yeah.
So I did most of the drive, and then I drove the entire rest of the time while we were out.
Yeah.
I don't think I could do it anymore.
I don't believe that at all. And we'll find out whether or not that's true after this He Is Legend tour that you are about to do all of the driving for.
I didn't sign up for that.
Observer.
I didn't sign up for that.
Yeah, Kyle actually talked about that a bunch yesterday. He's like, yeah, Nick was like, I'll drive, and then 15 hours later, he was still driving.
So we were going to see I did the last drive of that tour when I was out with Actor Observer. There was a drive where we were going to Nick's family's house, I want to say, in Connecticut. I don't remember where we were before, but it was a long drive.
Oh, yeah.
And when we got there, we had plans to go to the movies to see whatever.
Infinity War.
Yeah, Infinity War.
He told the story.
Did he?
Yeah, he told the story.
I slept through the entire movie.
Yeah. He said that he was like, yeah, Nick drove for 15 hours and we were almost there and somebody was like, hey man, go take a nap. And you were like, no, I'll just finish the drive. And they were like, no, you got to be awake for the movie.
Nope.
And then,
I sat down in the chair. The movie started. I fell asleep. I woke up at the credits.
yeah, I believe it, dude. That's so funny. Listen, man. This might be my favorite episode I've done so far. I love this. You're one of my favorite people on this planet. You're gonna teach my daughter fucking to be in the Olympics as a gymnast, which is gonna be sick.
You love me even though I once spilled a Four Loko in your bed?
Bro, we'll save that for next time, all right? You motherfucker. No, that's a quick one. Nick and a few of our friends stayed at my parents' house while I was still living there, and we got Four Lokos.
Terrible decision.
Horrible. And Nick is laying on my bed. We're watching TV, all of us, and I have a big projector. And he's laying on my bed, and he's like this. And then just lets it go and dumps it all over the bed.
I don't know if you've ever had a Four Loko before, but that's where it belongs. All over John's bed.
True. I really appreciate you coming on, man. This is a lot of fun. I can't wait to for everybody to hear these stories. I can't wait to have you on again because you're gonna. And then yeah, this is a lot of fun.
Yeah, I could talk to you all day. Could talk about this stuff all day long.
I know. We definitely could. Next time, we'll have a little baby sitting right here, monitoring everything you say. But again, man, I appreciate you coming out. This is a lot of fun. I love all these stories. It's great to relive a lot of these, honestly, and then to hear stories I haven't heard. But yeah, tell the people what you got going on.
Oh man, what I got going on? I'm writing some solo stuff, so they'll be new. It won't be Ahnest, I don't think, but it'll be out eventually. I'm writing it. It's a long process. You know how it is. Hopefully sooner than later it'll be out. And then outside of that, I'm just running a ton. Trying to qualify for Boston.
Hell yeah.
So
Do it. I believe in you.
thanks, John. I believe in you.
Guys, keep an eye out on your streets. He's probably running by your house right now. You can see him. You can find him literally anywhere. I'll have his information down below in the description. Again, man, I love you very much. Thank you for coming out. And yeah, if you like what you hear, like what you see, like and subscribe, share with your friends. StouryTime Pod across all platforms. Yeah, we'll see you next time.
Later.
Bye, bitch.